Is now the best time to buy yourself a new OLED monitor, or should you wait for later this year or maybe next year and get one of the new models that's being launched? What improvements and new technologies are coming soon? We thought we'd run through all of the exciting new OLED monitors that we know about already for 2025 and beyond, as well as make some predictions about others we're likely to see announced soon. We'll also give you our current OLED monitor recommendations if you want to buy something sooner and you've got money burning a hole in your pocket now. This video is organised by screen size so that you can use the timestamps in the description to skip to the size that you're interested in, or if you're undecided, just watch through the whole thing and it will hopefully give you a good overview of what we'd recommend now and what's coming soon. Let's start with the 27-inch OLED monitors and work up in size from there. These are the most popular and common screen size on the market, and there's actually two resolution choices in this size. There's 1440p or 4K, so let's cover both. Our current recommendation and top pick for a 1440p resolution OLED monitor would be the Asus ROG Swift PG27AQ-DP, a fantastic gaming screen with a massive 480Hz refresh rate, the fastest currently available in fact from any OLED monitor, and a range of useful gaming features like black frame insertion for great blur reduction even at lower refresh rates. It's got the latest WOLED pixel structure as well, improving on the previous 1440p 240Hz WOLED panels launched before it, and that helps improve text clarity for other general and office users. However, if you're after a 27-inch 1440p OLED monitor for gaming, then you may want to hang on a little bit for some of the releases of the new 500Hz QD OLED monitors, which should start to appear on the market from July. There's models coming from MSI, Asus, Gigabyte, Samsung and others using a new QD OLED panel, and it will offer you an alternative if you prefer the glossier screen coating and higher colour volume of that technology compared with WOLED. Current QD OLED models are available up to 360Hz, so there is a nice bump there soon with those soon to be released models. These look like they should be excellent screens, with many of them now adding features like BFI and anti-flicker for gaming, DisplayPort 2.1 connectivity for an uncompressed video signal if you've got a modern graphics card with DP 2.1, and new burn-in mitigation features like human motion sensors to detect your usage and turn the screen off automatically when you're not using it. If you're a WOLED fan and prefer a matte screen coating and the higher HDR brightness performance that that technology typically offers, then get the Asus PG27AQ-DP. But it seems like a good time to perhaps wait a couple of months to see how these new QD OLED 500Hz models perform once they're available. If you're not necessarily bothered about the absolute fastest refresh rates, then another 27-inch 1440p model we're excited to see launched later this year is the Gigabyte MO27Q28G, which will be the first OLED monitor featuring LG Display's latest Gen 4 primary RGB tandem panel structure. We've got a separate video covering Gen 4 panels if you want to know a lot more about that and what it all means, but this should offer improved brightness and colours as well. And this is the first of its kind using their latest generation of WOLED technology. It's got a lower refresh rate of 280Hz, which is still very good, of course, on an OLED screen, and it's going to be available at a very attractive price point of $499 as well. So if you're after a more budget-friendly option, this could be a really interesting screen to hang on for. If you want a higher resolution 27-inch OLED monitor, then there's loads of 4K offerings now available that have been launched since January this year, all based on the same QD OLED panel in fact. We've tested both the Asus ROG Swift PG27UCDM and the MSI MPG272URX, which were both excellent offerings, with amazing picture quality and a super sharp and clear image thanks to that increased pixel density and resolution. It's tricky to decide between the two, so do have a look to see which features you want and what the pricing is like for your region. The Asus has added BFI mode for blur reduction, Dolby Vision HDR support, and their new Neo proximity sensor, as well as their OLED Care Pro features. So it has a few more tricks up its sleeve than the MSI model, but it is around $100 more than the MSI model in the US, maybe more in some regions. If you want those extra features, it's a great choice, but the MSI is also a great screen if you don't need them. There's nothing much else around the corner in the 27-inch 4K OLED market right now, apart from some competing models from other brands based on the same panel that's used in the Asus and MSI models. The next improvement in the 27-inch 4K OLED space will likely come when LG Display produce their upcoming 4K resolution WOLED panels, which look interesting as they're exploring shifting to a true RGB pixel layout to further enhance text rendering and likely improve colour volume too. However, the panel mass production is not due until Q4 this year at best, and we wouldn't expect to see any monitors launched to market until Q1 2026 if we're lucky. Nothing's been announced at all yet, so it's likely to be a fair way off. Wait if you're curious about the WOLED alternatives or are after a matte screen coating that those panels offer, but there's a lot of recently launched QD-OLED options that make excellent choices right now. Moving up to 32-inch sized OLED screens, and there's a big choice in this segment, all offering 4K resolution and some impressive performance and specs. You can find both QD-OLED and WOLED options available as well, depending on your preference. Our current top picks would be between the Asus ROG Swift PG32UCDP and LG's 32GS95UE. They're both built around the same WOLED panel with a 4K resolution, 240Hz refresh rate, and support for a dual mode function that allows you to run at 1080p and 480Hz if you'd rather for certain gaming situations. That dual mode function is exclusive to the WOLED models, and along with better HDR performance, we slightly prefer these models to the wide range of QD-OLED options available, even though those are also excellent displays. The feature set varies between these two models, the Asus and the LG, so you can base a decision on what would be useful to you. The Asus has added gaming options like black frame insertion, anti-flicker modes, and a more gamer design, while the LG model has features like hardware calibration and some useful and powerful integrated speakers, with a more modest and professional design. The LG is around $100 less than the Asus in the US. Both are excellent choices, so go for whichever has the features that you personally find useful. There's a couple of other 32-inch options that could be worth waiting for though. Asus are soon to release two new 32-inch OLED models in their ROG Strix lineup, featuring WOLED panels but with a new glossy screen coating, what they're calling their new true black coating in fact. Those are basically glossy equivalents to the PG32UCDP and offer a clear and clean looking image thanks to that glossy screen coating for an excellent picture quality in the right lighting conditions. With the screens offering dual mode support and also adding features like their Neo proximity sensor alongside existing BFI and anti-flicker features, these screens look like they're going to be really impressive. There's going to be two versions of this new glossy 32-inch WOLED screen available, a 165Hz version with dual mode up to 330Hz and a 240Hz version with dual mode up to 480Hz. These will have compelling price points too, so if you're a fan of glossy screen coatings, these would definitely be worth waiting for. On then to the 34-inch ultrawide space, where our current recommendation and our top pick would be the MSI MPG 341CQPX, an excellent all-round screen with a 3440 by 1440 resolution, subtle 1800R curvature, and QD-OLED monitor panel. It's got a 240Hz refresh rate, which is higher than many older 175Hz models of this size, for improved motion clarity and gaming experience. An alternative and popular option released recently might be the Dell Alienware AW3425DW. We've not had a chance to test this one yet, but Dell released some pretty solid screens with decent specs and are a popular mainstream brand that you could also consider. It uses that same 240Hz QD-OLED monitor panel as the MSI, and it's available at a decent price point of $799 at the time of this video. The 34-inch ultrawide market has been fairly static for a while now, with no big new innovations or changes in recent times. That is likely to change though next year, as we know that both LG Display and Samsung Display, the panel manufacturers, are working on new panels of this size with some interesting new specs. In our recent video, we talked about Samsung Display's updated QD-OLED panel of this size, which has the same 3440 by 1440 resolution and 1800R curvature as their current panel, but increases the refresh rate to 360Hz. It will also offer improved HDR brightness thanks to a newer gen QD-OLED technology, and various other improvements and updates are planned which we can't talk about this time, but which we're very interested to see. Remember, we're talking here about a panel development, not a specific monitor. Timelines are not firm at this stage, and there's no word yet on any monitor releases using this new panel. But hopefully we'll see some more news, specs and information towards the end of 2025. Our guess would be monitor launches in 2026 sometime using it, but we're not sure when at this stage. As soon as we've got anything further that we can share publicly with you, we will. On the other side, LG Display we know are working on a new 34-inch WOLED panel with an increased 5K 2K resolution of 5120 by 2160, offering a big increase in pixel density and image detail. This panel is currently expected to go into mass production in Q4 this year, so maybe we'll see some monitor releases in the first half of 2026. Not everyone's going to want or need this kind of high resolution, especially on a smaller ultra-wide screen like this, but if you're after a higher pixel density and super sharp image, then this would be well worth waiting for. Again, we're talking about panel development there. There's no news from any display manufacturers at this stage launching screens using this panel. So there's some exciting developments on the horizon for 34-inch ultra-wide screens, but not until 2026. So this really depends on if you want to wait or get yourself a well-priced ultra-wide option from the current offerings available today. The next size up would be the pretty scarcely populated 39-inch market. These give you a bit of a size boost over the 34-inch ultra-wide screens for extra immersion or something more comfortable for a more distant viewing position, but they offer the same resolution and refresh rates as the 34-inch models. Actually, only LG Display produce OLED panels of this size using their WOLED technology, and so there's not a massive choice at all. Our recommendation would be the ASUS ROG Swift PG39 WCDM, which has a 3440 by 1440 resolution and 240Hz refresh rate. It does have a steep 800R curvature though, which some people may not get on with, but that does provide some decent immersion for games in certain situations. There's not really any other choice if you want a larger 39-inch ultra-wide monitor than those built around this same 800R curvature panel at the moment anyway. Their screen is better priced than some competing models in this segment. Like in the 34-inch size, we know that LG Display are going to be producing a 39-inch WOLED panel with that increased 5K 2K resolution of 5120 by 2160, offering a big increase in pixel density and image detail, which we think would be a really nice balance on a screen of this size. This is the size that we're most interested for that 5K 2K resolution really. Like the smaller 34-inch option, this 39-inch ultra-wide panel is currently expected to go into mass production in Q4 this year, so maybe we'll see some monitor releases in the first half of 2026. So if you're after a higher pixel density and super sharp image, then these would be well worth waiting for as well. Keep in mind again that we're talking about panel development there. There's no news from any display manufacturers at this stage launching screens using this panel. Moving up then to 45-inch ultra-wide OLED monitors, and there's a clear single winner right now, and that's the LG 45GX950A. It's the first and only OLED monitor so far of this size to offer a new 5K 2K resolution of 5120 by 2160 for a much better pixel density and image quality than the earlier 45-inch ultra-wide OLED monitors that had a much lower 3440 by 1440 resolution. We found this a substantial upgrade, and it was an excellent screen when we reviewed it recently. Other manufacturers told us at Computex in May that they weren't actually looking to explore this 45-inch segment and offer alternatives to LG's model. So it does look like for now, LG Electronics will hold the monopoly in this size. One thing that some people might not like about the 45GX950A is the steep 800R curvature. We found that actually we got quite used to it and enjoyed it on such a large screen like this for many situations, but it's not ideal for everything, and some people may not like it at all. If so, one option that's potentially worth waiting for would be LG's already announced 45GX990A. This is a version that features a motorized bendable function that would allow you to customize the curve or even have the screen completely flat if you want. The price point of the curved model is already very high at $2,000, and while we don't have an official word on price and release date for the bendable model yet, we'd expect it to cost considerably more when it's released. You'll have to decide if that's important to you and if you're willing to fork out even more money for the bendable version, but if not, then the current curved model is an excellent and easy recommendation for 45-inch ultra-wide OLEDs. Further down the line, we'd expect to see some 240Hz refresh rate versions released, as we know that LG Display are developing a panel with that higher refresh rate, but there's no word on any monitor releases, and with vendors like ASUS and Gigabyte seemingly opting not to explore 45-inch, it might be a while before LG Electronics look to offer anything new. Moving up in size again, and we've got the 49-inch super ultra-wide OLED monitors, offering a really wide format with dual 1440p resolution, so that's 5120 by 1440. These are great for multitasking and as an alternative to dual monitor setups. You'll find some 144Hz options and some 240Hz refresh rate models of this size, but our top pick in this size would be the Samsung Odyssey G93 SD, which is the latest 2025 model in their range and an update to the SC models that came before it. This offers the maximum 240Hz refresh rate currently available. Note that the G93 SD is a slightly different model to the G95 SD, with that model having loads of smart TV functionality built in. If you want or need those features, then the G95 SD is an obvious choice, but we found the functionality annoying and difficult to use, to be honest, and we would rather have a pure monitor like the G93 SD if possible, and probably save some money at the same time. The G93 SD would be a great choice for a 49-inch super ultra-wide OLED monitor, or the G95 SD model if you want integrated smart TV functionality as well. We're not aware of any major planned changes in this space, so there's no news from Samsung Display on any updates to their 49-inch QD OLED panel at this time, although maybe we'll see an update later on at some point. LG Display aren't developing any 49-inch WOLED panels either, so there's no obvious reasons to wait for anything else in this size, to be honest. Let's finish up with the large format 42-inch size displays with a 16:9 aspect ratio. This was the first size really to offer OLED screens in the monitor space as a crossover from the TV space, and they were just about okay size-wise to have on your desk, we thought. Now that there's loads of smaller, more normal monitor-sized OLED panels available, the display manufacturers have largely abandoned this size in favour of focusing on more mainstream, smaller models. Asus and Gigabyte, for instance, recently told us that they had no plans to develop anything new in this 42-inch space. The best option right now, if you do want a very large format OLED monitor and something that could be a combination desktop monitor and TV, would probably be LG's latest C5 model in this size. Their C5 series has always been really popular, and their latest model from this year is the 42C5. It offers loads of built-in smart TV functions, has a 4K resolution and 144Hz refresh rate. It's more limited as a desktop monitor, having only HDMI connections and lacking many typical features like an adjustable stand and things like PC USB ports, or even a sleep mode, for instance. But it offers some great performance and features if you want a large OLED screen like this. So, there's all of our current best picks in the OLED market by size, along with some exciting and interesting options that you may perhaps want to wait for later this year or into 2026. You'll find links in the description below where you can check latest availability and pricing for your region too. Do let us know in the comments section below which model you're going to buy or which display you're going to wait for, and make sure that you hit subscribe to stay up to date on all of our other news and coverage coming up. Thank you for watching, we'll catch you next time.